my name is Elle Wright. Today I'm going to be talking about competence to waive the right to remain silent. So first of all, what is the right to remain silent? This is guaranteed by our Fifth Amendment and is a protection against incriminating oneself. Notable court cases involve Brown v. Mississippi. This was established in 1936 and basically says that a confession obtained by torture is not admissible in court. Another noteworthy case is Miranda v. Arizona. This was decided in 1966 and established the right not to incriminate oneself, the right to remain silent, and that defendants have to be informed of this right. So this is where we get the saying Miranda rights, or a suspect being Mirandaized. So this is what the police will tell people, that they have a right to remain silent, anything they say can be used against them, and that they have a right to an attorney. What is competence? It is the ability to do something or to understand something successfully and efficiently. So, when it comes to legally defending oneself, that means the defendant is able to understand the charges, assist in their own defense, the ability to effectively communicate with their attorney, and to the jury should they choose to take the stand. A notable case when it comes to competence is Colorado v. Conley. This was decided in 1986 that a defendant had a mental illness, and the question being asked was whether does severe mental illness prohibit someone from being competent, and they decided no, that the person was not coerced into giving a confession, and so the confession was admissible. So how does the legal system determine competence? It's an evaluation done by a mental health professional. They measure the capacity to understand, their intellectual functioning, such as IQ, how suggestible the person is. This comes into play whether a defendant is really voluntarily giving up their right to remain silent. Is the defendant having acute symptoms of severe mental illness? If they are actively in a psychotic episode or suffering from delusions to the point where their sense of reality is skewed, then they would not be competent at that moment to be able to waive their rights. So, a notable case when talking about determining competence is Dusky v. United States. This was settled in 1960. It established the right to a competency evaluation. So this can be completed by the prosecution or the defense, or both. And a person has to be able to understand the charges and assist in their defense to be able to even stand trial. Competence and Miranda rights. So these are kind of the per se rules. Does a defendant knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily waive their right to remain silent? That all three of those conditions need to be met for an individual to be considered competent to waive their rights. So they have to have decisional competence. If a person is cognitively impaired, this can affect their competence. But if their cognitive impairment does not affect their ability to understand their rights, then anything they say can still be admissible. Vulnerable populations are especially at risk to not fully understand their rights or be able to assert wanting to keep their rights. So, vulnerable populations like the cognitively impaired, the severely mentally ill, and children are at risk for not being fully competent in understanding what rights they may be giving up. As we watch part of this clip here, please keep in mind that a 13-year-old child is being interrogated without a parent or guardian present, and consider whether a child can actually make these types of decisions in these circumstances.
Miranda rights were written to protect key constitutional rights: the right against self-incrimination, the right to an attorney. You have the right to remain silent. But when a person doesn't understand those rights, the rights have no meaning. Nowhere is this more evident than with children and youth in the custody of law enforcement. Do you understand?
He has a big heart. He was a sweet little boy that said he would grow up to be a police officer one day. As far as I knew, my son was at school. So when I get a call from the station letting me know that my son was at the station, it kind of blew me away because I didn't understand why he was even there.
In California, the police can take a child out of school without letting the parents know. And even if the child is asking for a parent, the police can decide not to contact the parent.
Youth have the same constitutional rights during interrogations as adults do. The difference is that for many young people, these are like words without meaning.
Just, oh, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or will be held against you in the court of law. Okay, what does that mean? What does a 13-year-old know of what that means?
It's not that all children don't understand their rights. They have less capacity to understand their rights. They need help and guidance.
So, after learning about competency and how it applies to the right to remain silent, I would like you to consider whether minors should ever be considered competent to waive their right to remain silent. Neurologically, they are not fully developed yet. They are unable to make legally binding decisions in most cases because they are not at the age of consent. There's also an expectation that children will obey authority figures. They may not feel comfortable asserting their rights. The language used in Miranda warnings is typically at an 8th grade level, which many children may not understand, especially when stressed. So these are the sources I used. If you would like to see the entire clip, there's a link to that as well. Thank you.